Andrew Walton. How are you, Andrew?
Delighted to be here. Namaskara.
Thank you. Thanks for your time. You are into sports technology. You are in India Australia collaboration for a long time. You built one of the Australia's first sports tech companies. First question to you is Australia has only 27 million people, yet it consistently producing world-class sporting innovations and sporting professionals. What is it about Australia's sporting culture? Why it's so fertile, do you think?
Yeah, thank you, Gotham. An excellent question to start with, and a pleasure to be here with Unzip Reboot Live. And culture is an interesting word, and culture is something which is in many ways impossible to define. It's a feeling, yet culture predominantly is derived from actions and behaviours. And Australia's sporting culture has deep roots in those areas where, from a young age, sport is all around us. And if I reflect upon my own personal upbringing in a small country town called Mooroopna, where my parents landed there, I'm a typical child of a intercultural relationship. My mum was Italian, my mum is Italian. My dad was born in Australia, so in a small country town back in the 60s, it wasn't unusual for cultures to come together. And but from a young age in a country town, everybody played sport, whether it be cricket, basketball, AFL, soccer, football, tennis, golf. It was everywhere because the grounds, the fields, the pitches, the courts, they were very visible. There was something you just went to. They weren't hidden by locks or fences or inaccessible. You could just go and play. As a young child in a small country town, it was also a way where it would bring people together from different schools and different backgrounds. And we might have played cricket more serious, but then we'd also play golf and tennis with friends from different backgrounds. And being Italian, European, most of the kids back then from a Greek, Maltese, Albanian, Turkish, Italian background would play soccer or football, and they might not necessarily play other sports. So it was always around us as you get a bit older. And the story with myself was that from the age of 11 to 17, I used to have a paper round every morning where I'd get up at 6 a.m. and deliver newspapers, 110 Herald Suns, 11 Ages. It gave me a sense of discipline early on, but it also allowed me to earn pocket money that I could then go and buy a new cricket bat or buy a pair of football boots, etc. But where this fertile ground also comes from is that one of my jobs as I was 13, 14 years old and started to play senior cricket apart from juniors was on a Wednesday morning. My job after I finished the paper round was to go to the cricket ground where the roller would be on the pitch. And my job was to roll it at 7:30 in the morning for half an hour, as our curator Bob Barker used to tell us that someone had to crack the seal of the wicket to prepare for that week, because he had a belief that a good turf wicket, to be able to provide a contest between bat and ball, it needed to be rolled for 14 hours. Now, that basic principle in my life has held up generally pretty well. But what that then creates from a cultural aspect, Gotham, is it being able to take that practice and match, but then also being able to prepare the conditions that you would play in. And those actions of doing, the behavior of being responsible and being there at 7:30 on a Wednesday morning, they're the things I suppose are examples of where that culture comes from, but organically. It was just something you did because if you were asked, it would be a way of giving back to the community. A lot of that does hold true today. Like if we peel back the layers of our elite, high level, high professional sports people, many of them do come from country towns where those elements are still very much a part of it. And in Indian culture, we've seen the story in recent years of Yashasvi Jaiswal. He wasn't born in Mumbai. He happened to get there somehow from a small regional town, and he found his way now to be, one of the most exciting players in cricket ahead. Yet his values, his own internal culture came from a different environment.
Because you also played cricket and you mentored, you coached some current IPL players in India for an Indian club. But we are seeing in cricket and other sports definitely that technology is coming and basically make the game fairer, clean, and pushing lack of gray areas. Where do you think the biggest sports technology opportunities lie over the next decade, which as a layman we can't see or we are not
Yeah.
envisioning it?
I think there's many areas there. I mean, first of all, cricket as an example. I grew up in an era where it was all red ball cricket,
Mm-hmm.
and then Mr. Packer came along, and we had white ball cricket,
Mm-hmm.
and then now we're playing day-night test matches with pink ball cricket. those innovations have happened just with the equipment in the sport of cricket in the last generation and a half. And we're now seeing that some players can handle all formats, some can handle one format. Some are more skilled in certain areas. So technology allows us to understand more deeply as to why does Mitchell Starc have such an incredible strike rate with a pink ball? Why is Scott Boland so restrictive with batters with a red ball? Why is Jasprit Bumrah such a strike weapon with the white ball? And we can learn all about the seam position, release points, grips, speed off the wicket. So where technology, it gives us highly accurate information and in real time. And I think with players, it's also they're going to develop better movement patterns as to how they can react and respond to the situation that they're in. That also then from a technology perspective, it gives coaches and mentors the capability of providing higher quality feedback, and not just for the athlete. I feel the biggest area ahead opportunity is to, with the athlete, involve their support network and their parents so that they're able to feel part of the journey ahead together. A behavior in the past would be coaches fearful of parents sitting in judgment of them because they may be questioned as to why and how they were doing things. And as a coach now, by embracing technology, whether it be video analysis, whether it be performance analysis, whether it be developing game plans with a player, whether it be checking in on their emotional and mental skills, yes, the relationship is with the athlete directly. However, it's important though to have their support network around them involved to be on the same page together rather than be combative, because so many athletes have fallen out of love or enjoyment with the sport because the family environment isn't quite aligned to what they're going to or what their dreams are. The quality of communication is definitely something where I think sports technology can take the data and information, but with AI, we can analyze it to a whole new level, yet we must not forget the people element. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, the relationship comes down to the people who can look at each other in the eye, understand through the tone of voice, and build on something together. Another part also here, Gotham, is I'm finding now that many of the players who I may coach now or mentor, they're aspirational to be something else at a professional level. Now, generally, if they're in a pathway program, representative program, premier cricket, first class cricket, professional cricket, I'm one of up to maybe 13, 14 coaches in the chain of some way. And I think it's very important that coaches, whether you be head coach of one team, a performance coach in another team, a mentor on another team, or a specialist elsewhere, which is not unusual these days. Not every head coach is a head coach in every case. Yet the information that you need to have available on the players for them to have optimal performance needs to be shared more smoothly and with better focus upon where the player is at in their career cycle. So to me, to a degree, the biggest sports technology opportunities are not necessarily the obvious. It's the analytical, the visual is important, but the human element has to come into that as well. And the binding of family, support network, sports science, and coaches is a huge opportunity ahead.
Wow, man, it's a very new way of thinking. You are always talk about and interested about disability sports, which is, okay, from business perspective, it is a bit lagging, maybe
Yes.
not that value of entertainment, not that value of money or endorsement are not into it. Is disability sports being treated as a social responsibility only? It can have an opportunity to go into mainstream in certain cases, I should say.
There does need to be a greater focus here and collective effort, because the statistics, the data is showing us, and ironically, we're sitting here today recording this when tonight in Australia is the census, where we're collecting information about our population of 27 million people. Initial data shows us that the percentage of people in our population who are living with either some form of disability themselves is more than 20%. Now, if you extend that to people who are either a family member or a carer of someone who needs some support, that's obviously greater than 20%. Yet undeniably, for those people to participate in sport as an active participant, an official, a coach, a mentor, an analyst, a member or a fan, anybody can be involved how they might need to in some way. And across all sorts of sport, whether it be traditional sport as we know it with a ball and a score, or some that involves movement or some type of combat, or some which might be purely online and gaming. Sport gives a great sense of satisfaction and happiness and self-esteem and confidence. So the percentage now is overwhelmingly becoming, it's unable to be ignored. And at a very, very basic grassroots level. So I'm now 8 years, I've completed 8 years as a volunteer with our local cricket club in Edinburgh, where my responsibility has been the age level coordinator and a coach for the under 10 level. And that's for players who are coming into the game at the first time, boys and girls of all background. Now, in recent years, in one particular group, 8 players in our under 10 team, 5 of the players had some form of neurological element that they were dealing with. Some relatively minor, but some through to medium to high level autism that needed some care and support. So for them to have the confidence to come into a sporting team, first of all, should be warmly welcomed and encouraged. And that sets them up to have a better quality of life ahead. It is a social responsibility, Gotham, definitely, yes. However, every corporation in Australia has got some form of inclusion or values on inclusivity that describes a work environment that they're proud of. And this is wonderful, but the words have to shift into action in some way. And if we're open and finding a way, everybody can contribute in some way that they're comfortable with. Now then, at a performance level, I've been to many wheelchair rugby, wheelchair basketball events. I've coached visually impaired cricket, all abilities cricket. It's not always about competition. It's also about just being involved and also having their families and their support network involved as well. It's giving them some comfort, some reliability and stability that their child, their partner, their parent can be taken care of in some way. We've seen in recent years, and sadly he passed away, but Neil Danaher with Fight MND, which is motor neurone disease, and he fought this cause individually for many, many years in Australia, which is unknown, unheard of. But that's a form of neurological disorder, which is, unfortunately, we're now seeing more of it because we know more about it. It's not being pushed into something else. Yet he had an ability to communicate and bind everybody across the sport, no matter whether they followed Melbourne, Collingwood, Carlton, Richmond together. And every year, 90,000 people would come to the MCG. Yes, a football match was on, but there was a cause around that. And that's, I suppose, where I get back to the culture element from actions and behaviours of others is a very, very powerful way to introduce change. And hopefully, I think, a very strong bond between our two countries, and with India now having the 2030 Commonwealth Games, the expectation is that the para athletes will be quite formidable because they have generally been fairly consistent in recent years. And as we're seeing our multicultural population here in Australia change. It's people from African backgrounds, from European backgrounds, from Asian backgrounds. And yes, they'll be competing in those elements also. I've also found that, just if I reflect back to cricket for a while, is that I've found in my journeys, Gotham, some incredibly talented people who can be coaches, who are coaches and mentors or analysts. And they may have partial vision, or they may be partially deaf, or they may have some mild form of cerebral palsy, and they're still able to commentate or broadcast or create graphics for production. So sport is the wonderful thing that can bring us all together in some ways. I suppose there's the on-screen and there's the off-screen element to it too as well.
Nice. Another area you love to talk about, which is women cricket.
Yes.
In developing nation, yes, it's a long way to go. They need a lot of policies, money, sponsors, and facilities. What about the developed world? Because sometimes there is also some tensions around it. So how you see it?
In this case, Gotham, I tend to refer to a very good friend in Mel Jones, who, apart from playing for her country, has been one of the more prominent commentators, analysts in cricket in recent times. Mel talks openly about the biggest impact that she has seen in women's cricket was when it started to be broadcast. And her words were, "If you can see, you can be." Now, I have 4 sons. My youngest son's 11 years old, and he's grown up right from little playing cricket, AFL and basketball. 3 years ago, so he decided to play football, the world game, because it was the Matildas. It was Australia's women's football team in a World Cup that got him interested in that sport, and he wanted to play it as well, because to him, his words, Mary Fowler's left foot, it's magic. Now, then as an 8-year-old, if that's forming in his mind that he wants to play sport because of a female, that's wonderful. I had the good fortune many years ago at a WBBL match that the kids were able to be part of the pre-match opportunity, and Ethan still got a Heather Knight signed cap from the Hobart Hurricanes. And he's met Sophie Molyneux. And my kids, when it comes to BBL, they don't sort of follow a team. They do follow the Renegades, but they follow the players. They'll watch Phoebe Litchfield, Annabelle Sutherland, Harmanpreet Kaur, Smriti Mandana, DT Sharma. They're as much interested in the players and what they're capable of doing. And this group coming through, they don't really see gender. They just see players doing really cool things. They see Sam Kerr kicking a goal and doing a backflip. Well, that's really cool to them. So if you can see, you can be. In India, the WPL is expanding. And having been there a few times and seeing firsthand Meg Lanning, Delhi Daredevils, Harmanpreet Kaur, Mumbai Indians, the interest with the fans, the competitive nature between the countries, they're showing what is possible in the right spirit, in the right way, with the right intent. And that's inspiring many, many girls coming through. And if I deflect to 2013 was the first year that I physically went to India and was a guest coach at the Karnataka Institute of Cricket, KIC in Bangalore. This was back at their old facility where there were still 2,000 players would go through any given day. In 2013, there was 14 girls in their program out of 2,000 people. Now it's more than 150. And in that period of time, a number of those young players, Vida Krishnamurthy, Karuna Jain, Vanita VR, they have played for Karnataka, they have played for their state, they have played for their country in some cases. They have coaching national teams, and they're the ones who are now coming through and mentoring the younger ones and guiding the younger ones who think they want to play as well. But our women players in cricket, they play anywhere in the world. All the best Indian players come play WBBL. Thank you. We're very happy with that. Danyavad Galu, we're very happy with that. All of our Australian players are welcome to play in India. In the 100, they all play together. This ripple effect is now happening and streaming across all sports. And to finish with, yeah, if you can see, you can be, because whether it be broadcast on television as we know it, whether it be streamed on a channel as you know it, whether it be on TikTok, on Snapchat, on Instagram, it's impossible to miss. And for my younger son to want to try a new sport and still be in that sport because the Matildas was his entry point, that for me is a living example of how powerful women's sport can be.
Because you are attached with cricket and with India, there is a debate going on that cricket is so much popular in India. It's actually not giving enough opportunity to other sports to come up, or because of this one mega sports, the other sports also will be able to grow up. How you see it?
I'm optimistic, Gotham, because we've now got on our sporting roadmap ahead. So yeah, cricket undoubtedly is of huge influence, undoubtedly. Yet we're now living in a period where for the first time ever in history, the high profile international medal events, Olympic Games, Commonwealth Games, Los Angeles 2028, we're playing cricket. India, Ahmedabad 2030, we're playing cricket. I'm fairly certain Brisbane 2032, we're playing cricket. And let's go forward 4 years from that and just say that, yes, India gets the 2036 Olympics. There'll be cricket. Never before in life has cricket been involved in the Olympic Commonwealth Games sports of this continuity ever. So that, in a way, will drive and lift the others. We're already sort of seeing from the visits that I have to India regularly, if I'm at the Padakone Dravid Centre of Sports Excellence in Bangalore, which is a magnificent facility, and I'm watching their badminton academy coming through, the gender balance between male and female is equitable. If I'm looking at what they're doing in other sports as well, even this year with some of the powerlifting, we're seeing female athletes come through. I've seen some female cricketers step away from cricket, but step into powerlifting or weightlifting as a sport. And that, I feel, is going to lift the whole ecosystem collectively. Cricket is important, don't absolutely. But others will start to emerge as well. And then I think there are other sports as well within India that are more strategic in nature and don't rely upon how fast you are or how strong you are, but how tactically astute you are, how strategically intelligent that you are, how you manage your emotional intelligence and calmness during the competition, where I think India is the hidden superpower that will come forward in some of these sports.
When you are working with India in India,
Yep.
What surprised you about doing business there, good and bad?
Every time I go, I've been 19 times, Gotham, and every time I go, I don't really see any bad. I just see a hugely optimistic community that has a high level of belief. Probably initially, I was a little bit the gender balance at times. If you're walking into a room, particularly from a technology perspective, if there was 20 people in the room with you, it was 20 males between the age of 22 and 35. I'm now seeing that balance change. There are more females involved in the room who are software engineers or team leaders or project managers. It's not purely dominant of the male gender. Karuna Jain is one of the best cricket coaches I've ever had the pleasure of being anywhere near anywhere in the world. And I did have a case early on in one of my trips where a player who I took across, I said, please make sure I've arranged some time for you to be with Karuna Jain. He was a young 15-year-old boy. I said, please make sure you spend some time. And he goes, well, what can she teach me? She's a girl. I said, my son, please, just believe me. You go and spend 45 minutes with Karuna. She'll take you through some batting drills. She'll take you through some keeping drills. He listened to me. He went and did it. He came back and he said, oh, thank you so much. That was one of the best experiences of my life. I now see regularly Karuna at KOC, and nobody sees her. They just see she's a cricket coach at the highest level and is respected as that. The other good side, I think, is India has become far more progressive when it comes to construction of facilities and development in recent times. Again, I'll revert to Bangalore. Before COVID, KOC was in the new facility just off St. John's Road, 40 nets, amazing, great. And next to it was a big block of land that had been there forever. And the block of land was basically where once a year there'd be a carnival or a fair or a festival or a wedding of some sort. When I came back on the second plane out of Australia after COVID, that block of land had become Souths United Football Academy facility. And it was incredible. Gym, cafe, social area, tugdo row. 2 years before that, it didn't exist. And then it was there. There seems to be an appetite for developing facilities. The Padakone Dravid Centre of Excellence is constructed in a fairly short period of time.
Is that all private ventures or it's a public and private?
It appear to be a mix and a blend. But the point being, I suppose, is that the good is that India is putting into place its ability to construct facilities of scale and size, whereas here, quite often in Australia, we tend to restrict things and bring things down. When I was growing up in a small country in a house, your bedroom was like 4.5 metres by 4.5 metres square. One bedroom is now 2 bedrooms in most houses. I grew up in a house with a backyard. We could play cricket with a swimming pool. That was fine. Today, yes, you laugh, yeah. I think India now is understand that you have to have space to do things and community spaces as well. I think other part too, just to finish with the access to education. Many of the players who come there every day for one lesson, maybe 2 lessons, their day also revolves around education of some sort. You know, there's an importance on learning isn't just from sport. It's learning from the culture, the history, the arts, the future. It's also not always about computers. It's other skills as well. So as far as doing business, sometimes it's not bad, Gotham, but just did find in the early days as you would be approached by a lot of people who could help you or wanted to do something for you. And there's probably more cases than not that was under false pretenses, or maybe what they thought they could do that didn't actually really exist. It was more hope. And you have to entertain those communications, but there never seemed to be a shortage of someone who wanted to do something for you because you might have known a cricket player, for example, and they would try to use you to get to them for whatever reason. And so just being careful with people and taking the time to understand why they've approached with you. If it's a business related element, okay, that's fine. But is it emerging? Is it an idea? Is it actually operating and working? If you have a team behind you, fine, that's good. Please take me to your office and show them to me so I can see that they're actually real. Yeah, you're laughing because you know what I mean. Yeah, so just do your homework and due diligence and make sure that if you're going to deal with someone, and like in all things, Gauther, make sure you get paid.
As you already said that there is a strong ties between India and Australia, what are the other sectors do you think that big opportunities India-Australia collaboration can happen?
Education, definitely. I think education, there's a two-way street. A number of the Australian academic institutions have a solid footprint in India, and we're seeing a good blend now where sometimes people who come to Australia for education, they're now staying here and they're developing their own businesses and they're flourishing, or they're taking that experience back to India and they're helping to build a family network. So it's a good exchange and creating a fluency between us. Other sectors in sport, we've already discussed the para-disability sports. I think there's a huge area there, although there's a cricket, because now there's mixed abilities where you've got the hard of hearing, the deaf, the intellectually impaired can play together. I think hockey's an obvious one where there is a connection there already, but a good friend in Chris Cirillo was one of the coaches with India for the Tokyo Olympics. And I think there's a greater acceptance now of hockey between the nations. We've now seen the Cobras will enter the Hockey One tournament here in Australia, which has been a long time coming, but finally happening. I think hockey will continue to grow in creating connection. The other area I think, which is probably lawn bowls, and The reason why I mention lawn bowls is there already is a strong base in India with lawn bowls clubs within golf clubs. And golf and lawn bowls are sports that don't purely rely upon power. They also rely upon precision, strategy, tactics, and you can play lawn bowls from the age of 5. Recently at the Glasgow Commonwealth Games, an Australian female gold medalist at the age of 77. So theoretically, lawn bowls as a sport, you can combine the children with their brothers and sisters, with their parents, with their grandparents. There are not many sports as active participants. And there's not many sports in the world where that actually can happen. That also you can play if you're visually impaired, if you're hearing impaired, if you're an amputee or intellectually impaired. You don't need a lot of space to play it. It can be played on natural grass or synthetic grass. It can be played indoors or outdoors. The aforementioned Melanie Jones, great cricket person, great cricket commentator, Mel learnt her early days in commentating lawn bowls. So it's a sport where I think huge opportunity for India to rapidly and quickly use the existing skills they've already got to become a quality competitor in that space. The two other ones are also for not just for the competitive nature, but for the community value. So first of all, swimming. Swimming has shown that there are a lot of health aspects, not only physically, but also mentally and emotional health as well. India has the population of interest that want to learn to swim better. It's not always about competition. Swimming is also something where an athlete builds confidence. It's for their recovery. And if people come to Australia, you will be surrounded by water at some stage where swimming is a very, very useful skill. It's also something where if we're able to keep our senior population somehow involved with swimming of some sort recreationally, it's better for their health. And if our senior population can lift some of the life burden off the parents and help the younger ones embrace swimming, again, we create that bond between family links, which is better for so many reasons. And the last part, I think, where sectors is what I would call the mass participation events, fun runs, community runs, cycling, endurance events. And I've seen that firsthand where regularly in April, Bangalore has their marathon. It's a part social, but it's also part serious competition. And they're bringing athletes from Kenya, from Uganda, from Tanzania. It's the competitive circuit. And there's prize money, and mass participation events like that are very visible. And that sort of also ties back into if you can see, you can be. And if we can get more people moving in an active way, that creates better health, reduces pressure on our medical system. It helps introduce better habits for lifestyle. It gets young people off the screens. The biggest asset that India has definitely got there, Gotham, is that you've got the population. You've got the mass population to create a movement that will make change generations ahead quite quickly, aligned with Commonwealth Games, Olympic Games 2036, and what may come beyond that.
If we now talk about the technology side, how important are universities, government, and industry work together? Is it sufficient here in Australia? Because in this respect, US is really, really good. How we are in Australia?
I think we're good at creating the accessibility to obtain the education. I think we could be better at putting it into practice and putting it into practice in environments where people work within teams and then into leadership. I mean, community sport, for example, which is very important in the Australian culture, very, very deeply entrenched. Yet too often people from the Indian diaspora are seen as players or participants. They're not seen as leaders. In Victoria right now, there are more than 100 different sports that play some form of competitive. Now, those 100 different sports, whether it be fencing, football, tennis, badminton, archery, cycling, those 100 sports, they all have board of management or executive leadership. Now, I'm not seeing enough that board and leadership is truly representative of the multicultural society that we now have. And I'll say that as I'm the son of an immigrant. My mother came from Italy. And I even see today, I see a Sport Today put out a wonderful initiative about their coaching ahead. And it's a great graphic of 10 people, 10 white faces, 2 females, 8 male. Not one person that you would identify as possibly having some form of disability of some sort. Surely we are better than that. However, the question should be asked, are we doing enough to encourage people from the Indian diaspora to want to be in leadership positions? Because there is no doubt the education level, the intelligence, the strategic mindset, the decision-making capability, the understanding of complex data and systems, it's all in place. What's not sufficient here yet is the openness in the people skills to want to bring people from different cultural backgrounds and genders through. You know, in some cases, there are some sports that have put in place a quota for male-female representation on a board. Now, we can argue about the quota or capability. If I go back to my 11-year-old son, he just sees people. He plays football and cricket with girls. because Russia bowls good leg spin. He likes that's all he sees. We have to be better in working together to innovate the people aspect of it, because the education professional skills, yep, they're in place. And sometimes to complete on this, Gotham, the confidence that can come from developing leadership skills can come from the local cricket club, basketball club, tennis club. All those aspects need operational support, whether it be fixtures or rostering or registrations or payments or marketing or whatever it may be. And I think that we can definitely work together better in applying the innovation skills that we're teaching in the classroom into the community as well.
We are almost in the end of it. So the last question, and which is very important question, sports has an incredible ability to transcend politics, language, culture. Why is that so? Secondly, do you think that sports technology also has that ability?
The answer should be yes. However, we've just gone through what should have been a tremendous event with the FIFA World Cup and celebrating the outstanding capability of players. Yet so much of the narrative was disturbed by interference from officials around either application of rules or application of video technology in certain ways. And some would argue that's become a destructive force for global connection and a destructive force for politics, because it's not always seen through the same eyes and the same lens.
Okay, I'm not too much into that sports, but it is becoming cleaner for sure, but still long way to go, man. I still don't understand offside and foul, still can't get it.
This is where many sports have gone in the path of trying to implement technology in adjudication has become confused, because the beauty of sport, beauty of the history of sport is at times reliant upon the interpretation, and it's not always black and white. There's grey, there's shade, and I think sports technology has taken away. We've tried to become too specifically judgmental on every single thing. Now, players predominantly want to be the best they can. They don't go onto the sporting field to deliberately make mistakes, but mistakes happen. That's human nature. We're all infallible, and I think if we can be better embracing that rather than being hypercritical about an element. To me, Gotham, the players are the stars of the game. They're what we all go to see. We don't go to see the coaches. We don't go to see the presidents. We go to see the players do their thing. And if we could kindly just focus back on that as a general community, I think we'd be all better off, and that would help to push beyond the politics aspect of it sometimes. Yet, unfortunately, with the World Cup, we have seen President interfere and unfairly, and some would say it's karma that it wasn't good.
Okay, so on that, we should end our podcast here. Thank you, Andrew.